Hey folks, before we start this video, I just want to throw out a quick disclaimer. This unit you're about to see, the Tilta Gravity G2, was given to me on loan by Tilta to try out. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Tilta Gravity G2 stabilizer. Now, this is by a company named Tilta. I've been using Tilta for a few years now, but not for gimbals or anything like that, more for stuff like this. They've been making real beautiful, really nice machine gear so I can turn something like my GH5 that I shoot with quite a bit into something like this, which is more attuned to the higher production environment where I need to do many things at once with my camera and also attach many different accessories for many different departments. So like I said in my last video, the Panasonic GH5S does not have a stabilized sensor. So to really get smooth cinematic movements with this camera, you need something like a gimbal or a dolly, which is why I was interested in checking out the Tilta for this camera. So you've probably seen us use these gimbals in the past, but the smaller versions for something like the GoPros. This is a popular GoPro sized gimbal that we've been using for walking the convention floors, and I have taken this thing out snowboarding and it has been a champ. But that's all that those kind of gimbals can be used for GoPros, and you don't really have much fine control over the movements or the speed of the movements, the pan and tilt. Now, Tilta gave me this one on loan to use for a few weeks because I had some shoots that I had coming up with a small crew that I really needed some smooth cinematic shots, and I thought it'd be a perfect time to try this out with the GH5S as an alternative for things like, jibs and cranes and dollies. Now, you have three main modes you can activate with this front button here. You have the pan and tilt mode, where the gimbal not only pans left and right, but also down and up. Now you have pan mode only, which doesn't tilt down or up. It only pans to the left and to the right as you move the gimbal around. Then you have chicken head mode, which keeps the lens perfectly locked in place no matter how you move the gimbal. Left, right, up or down. The lens will always stay looking at the same spot. All three of these modes work great, and you can actually go into the app using Bluetooth and adjust the speeds. So for the pan and tilt, I really dislike a wide angle, jerky, fast pan, so I slow that down to a very soft, gentle pan and tilt as I move the camera around, so you have a less noticeable movement for your shot. So one of my favorite ways to actually use a gimbal like this is to use it in the underslung mode. Now if you take it and you just kind of flip it around, the gimbal compensates itself, and now you can get those lower tracking shots, those lower dolly shots that you want, with a little bit better of a weight distribution. I've already used this thing on a few shoots now. Like I said, I only had this for a couple weeks, but one was a narrative short film where we needed a dolly backwards. Right, so I started on a subject, I had autofocus locked in, and I kind of slowly went back from the subject, getting the look of a dolly, a full dolly moving back. Walking backwards was okay, but one way that we did it was we used this like wooden, kind of cheap wooden gear dolly that had just four wheels and a handle, and the AC actually pulled me backwards while I kind of sat on my knees and just held it, kind of dug my elbows into my body and just hold the gimbal up, and I got wheeled back, and the results were actually pretty good. Really, anytime you add wheels to the equation, you're gonna have a much smoother movement. We also used this as a C-cam on a couple different interviews that we did. We had two main cameras covering the subjects, and then I had this one kind of pulling off these stylistic crane shots and just different variety of shots that we can sprinkle in without the interview. And then on the second half of the interview, I actually just set it down on the ground, which you can do because of this base plate that they make, which is actually a pretty sturdy base plate. And if you just set it down, it holds the camera up. I used this little joystick to frame up my shot and let the thing go, and that was just a wide angle stationary cam that had a slight upward angle. The joystick's actually quite nice if you want to force a movement, or if you want to give it a slight cockeyed mode as you're doing your dolly. If you want a gentle sway left and right, you can use the joystick to control that movement, or if you need to pan up or down, you can force that move through there through the joystick. Now, in my opinion, Tilta has always been making really well-machined, well-made, sturdy parts for all the different rigs, and this gimbal is no exception. It feels just rock solid. Everything moves real nice. You have to kind of calibrate it. You have to get the weight balanced, and you use these three knobs and sliders to make sure that your camera is balanced onto the gimbal before turning it on, and all of those slides and parts all just move buttery smooth. It's been a champ for the GH5. I haven't had any moments where the motors just kind of give up and it flops down, at least with this camera and this weight. It uses 4 of these batteries, which actually lasts quite a while. I think Tilta is saying 10 hours on a full charge. I've used it off and on a 3-day shoot, and I haven't had to recharge them yet, but I haven't been using them all day, just here and there throughout the day. So the price for this gimbal here is about $730, which is actually pretty competitive towards other gimbals. That's about the price you're expected to pay on something that's kind of a nicer quality build like this. So there you go. Like I said, I've only worked with it for a couple of weeks now, but it has worked a lot less painful than some of the other gimbals that I've used in the past. And then besides the 3 functions that the gimbal has, I think there's actually a lot more creative uses that you can explore with it. So if you're a smaller production company with a small team who's looking to add a range of cinematic movements to your shoots, I think something like this is worth exploring. So thank you guys for watching this show and tell gear video here on Tested, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.